As Luke resumed his walk toward the church, his gaze shifted to the spired rooftop of St. Mary's, and he recalled the envelope he'd slipped into the breast pocket of his jacket that morning before leaving for his office. Why he felt compelled to make another orphanage donation, he wasn't certain. He'd already made his second one just a little over 2 weeks ago, and even that had been uncharacteristic of him. Benevolent he definitely wasn't, yet he had this urge to make a third contribution. It made no sense, but then lots of things he'd been doing and thinking the last few weeks failed to make sense. He only knew this was something he had to do, part and parcel with the strange restlessness that had come over him 6 months ago and been growing increasingly worse ever since. Coming to the corner of Diamond Street, Luke took a right on Gambler's Way, his thoughts shifting to the young woman he'd encountered in the church the last time he'd been there. He hoped she wasn't lurking around again today. Getting weird urges to make contributions to the orphanage was one thing. Having others witness his actions was quite another. As things stood, people in Blackjack felt intimidated by Luke. If word got out that he was a bleeding-heart do-gooder, he'd lose that edge. Not that he expected her to be there. A young woman that age probably had far better things to do than hang around a church. Though too strong of feature to be pretty in a conventional way, she was a striking little minx with an amazing wealth of sable hair and big blue eyes. She undoubtedly had a number of young men sniffing at her skirts and vying for her favor. He smiled slightly, recalling the way she'd stared at him. A visit from the devil himself couldn't have elicited a more startled or wary reaction. Clearly, he wasn't an individual people expected to encounter in what they deemed a holy place. Luke had seen the girl around Blackjack several times before, usually in the company of Milo Zerek or his son Ambrose. Both men worked in the Taggart mine. Because of the family resemblance, Luke guessed she was probably Milo Zerek's daughter. That would explain the threadbare condition of her dress. The combined earnings of Zerek and his son probably provided only enough for the family to scrape by, with little left over for anything else. Luke refused to feel guilty about that. He paid a better hourly rate to his employees than any mine owner in Colorado, and though he hadn't checked, he suspected the prices in his company store were the most reasonable in the state as well. That and providing safe working conditions for his men was the best he felt he could do for the poor bastards. Given the fact that few other mine owners did as much, Luke was lauded for his munificence, which increased his workers' productivity and made Luke money, more than enough to compensate for the above-standard wages he paid. Once at the church, Luke made fast work of dropping the orphanage donation into the poor box.